Alright, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what I consider to be the meta build for Season 8, and this is probably the build you'll see in most of my ranked videos from now on, at least for this season. I'm not planning on changing to Scourge for ranked when Path of Fire drops, simply because I don't think picking up a new class in the middle of the season is a good idea. And I don't think Scourge is going to cut it either, at least not right away, unless it gets massive changes, which it might. But anyways, back to Reaper. So the reason I'm running the build that I'm running is this is basically the best all-rounder build for this meta. It gives you everything you need. So I have Spite, I have the new Spiteful Spirit, which now corrupts 2 boons, and it's an instant, like I just pop Shroud and Spiteful Spirit comes out. So that's a really useful tool. I think, at least one of my videos, I've pecked or stolen a beast with a Spiteful Spirit peck, and that's very useful functionality. Just having that. And of course, we've got all the damage and boon generation of Spite, which is good with Blighters. We've got lots of life force generation. On my utilities, I've got the unblockable corrupt boon, which brings my accessible corrupts up to 1 instant corrupt, 1 unblockable corrupt, and then I've also got Unholy Feast and Nightfall. For Condi clear, Plague Signet, Suffer. Plague Signet's a good burst clear, Suffer's a good incremental clear, Suffer's also good for just, you know, chilling foes, getting peck damage, that sort of things. Of course, your Soul's Mind spam all the time for life force, great stuff. I've got an AoE CC on Chilled to the Bone, I've got, you know, great sword utilities and all their useful things. And then I've got Axe for my range damage. On trait lines, I've got Immob Remove on Speed of Shadows. Obviously I would have rather had the reduced cooldown, but August 8th patch happened, so now it's Immob Remove on Speed of Shadows. I've got a crit bonus, Death Perception. You know, I've got maxed out Shroud just from Gluttony and Strength of Undeath, and that's nice. A little extra Vitality from Vital Persistence, that's nice.
Nothing can save you.
The new Soul Eater is very good for just generating life force even when you're not actively doing anything in self-healing, as that's a good trait. Just for staying alive. That's basically the functionalities. Obviously this is a little corrupt lighter compared to what I've run in the past. But with the buff to Spiteful Spirit, I think I have enough. The reason I don't take Chilled to the Death anymore is there's just not enough supports in the meta to really justify this, and it's usually better just to have the extra damage. Another thing about Unholy Fervor is with the Sigil of Fallibility. This only needs some vulnerability. I can just select a target with Sigil of Fallibility, instantly hit it, and since that Sigil's deterministic, I'll always get vulnerability on the first hit, which means I can just immediately go for Ghastly Claws. And whoop, I can immediately go for Ghastly Claws and completely skip having to auto-attack, but still get the bonus from Unholy Fervor. One slight change. I mean, this is mostly standard. One slight change on Sigil picks, other than obviously taking Sigil Fallibility on everything now, is I'm using Sigil Escape on my Greatsword just for the Root Break. There are a lot of Rangers running around in this current meta. Obviously Strength Sigils on everything, Blighter Spoon. You're pretty much never going to get away from Sigil of Courage these days. I'm still using Soldier with Marauders. It's basically my standard setup. If you're not expecting any Condi damage, or any real Condi damage, you could replace this with an offensive rune. I would recommend Rune of the Fighter or Rune of the Reaper. There's some other runes you could probably play around with, maybe Vamp runes, you know. Rune of the Traveler might be interesting to play with. But for most matches, it's going to be Rune of the Soldier. If you're expecting a lot of Condi Cleanse, feel free to take up Spite for Renewal. Otherwise, Bitter Chill is going to give you the best damage. And also extra damage for your team. Any other thoughts? Oh, right. I know a lot of people have been picking up Blood Magic. I've seen a lot of Blood Magic Necros running around this season. It's still not really useful. I mean, Ritual of Life, like the new version of Ritual of Life, is really nice, but... And they did buff Vampiric Rituals, so... It's not bad anymore, but again, Wells build aren't that exciting. You don't have the boom generation and might generation of Spite. You don't have Spiteful Spirit for the instant corrupts that can be used while stunned, which is another thing that makes Spiteful Spirit so great. And yeah, that's it. I mean, yeah, you get some life leeches, some heals, but the boon generation from Spite will also give you heals through Blighter's Boon when you're going into Shroud, so it's not exactly gaining a huge amount of healing going into Blood. Death Magic, again, Death Magic isn't that good. I know some people have been suggesting it after the Chains of Soul Reaping, but again, it's like, the only real exciting thing in Death Magic is Shrouded removal. I mean, I guess Corruptor's Fervor could be useful, just you do generate Condis, like, you generate a lot of Vuln and stuff, but it's not a huge change. This whole tier is just a whole lot of meh. Like, I don't use minions, and I don't recommend using minions, so Necromantic Corruption is pointless. Reaper's Protection, I mean, it's kind of fun to, like, fear a thief when he steals to you, but 60 seconds cooldown, eh. Deadly Strength, I don't really run a lot of toughness, so it's not that useful. You don't get a lot of damage out of it. Soul Comprehension is obviously bad, just because it's one of those, you only gain the benefit after you win the fight, at which point you don't need the benefit things. Beyond the Veil, is interesting, I guess, but 3 seconds of protection's not much to write home about. And Armored Shroud 180 toughness isn't exactly a game changer, so again. Unholy Sanctuary, I mean, yeah, if you're trying to max out like your healing in Shroud, I guess that could be interesting, but not a huge difference. I mean, I guess it could be fun, just, you know, Spite Death Magic with this and that and try and max out your healing in Shroud, but it's not really worth it, so Soul Reaping it is. Soul Reaping just gives you better tools, better damage. And the reduced cooldown on Shroud skills is nice. And, I think that's about it. Marauder Amulet, I'll speak a bit on this. You're basically going to be using Marauders for everything now. Valkyrie builds you're not going to run anymore because it requires, making them works requires Decimate defenses, which means you have to give up Soul Eater, and Soul Eater is just so good now on anything involving a great sword that you just can't give it up. So that's the reason why Valkyrie builds just aren't a thing anymore. And of course the other thing is the change of Speed of Shadows kind of hurt Valkyrie builds, because the main benefit to a Valkyrie build is just having that insane Shroud buffer from the 900 Vitality Amulet, and with the change to Speed of Shadows to where your Shroud cooldowns at a full 10 seconds all the time now. Excuse me, yawning. But the change, just not having that reduction means you can't actually put that buffer to use as much as you could in the past, so it's kind of sad. But again, it's just going to be Marauder for everything now. But it's kind of sad, like the August 8th patch really fixed Necro in the sense that there's only really a couple build options now. It's not as wide open as it used to be, at least for Power Necro. Of course, Condi Necros, or Condi Reaper is still as fixed as always. There's not really been any changes with Condi Reaper at all. And, that's about it. So, I'm gonna call that's the video. That's about all the things. Again, this is just a very good all-rounder build. It has all of the functionality that you need in a build. All of the tools you would need. Now, I will say if you're running up against a bunch of supports, or you suspect a bunch of supports, then yeah, maybe going to Spike Curses like my old build might be beneficial, but if you're not, which you probably won't, because I just don't see that many sports running around these days, this is probably going to be the build of the season right here.